Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Um, I want to talk about what we think of as wasted time and how nothing we do is ever wasted time. Um, because I think about when I worked um, when I worked at a community foundation. I was there for years, and I think I talked a little bit about this. Maybe I have or haven't. I start to get confused about what I've said already. But I left there and went to an organ procurement organization. And I was only there for 6 months, and I had left a job that I had been at for like 13 years. Went to this place that I thought was just meant that God has sent me to. Yeah, I did talk about this before because I talked about there were red flags and yeah. And but I don't think of that time as I was there 6 months. I don't think of it as wasted time because I always feel like there is something to get, there's something to gain, or there was a reason why I was there. Like I know I've said this before, like I don't think anything happens by chance. I think nothing is just like, oh, like that just happened. I don't believe in accident. I don't believe in all of that. I believe that there's a reason for absolutely everything that we do. And so that job that I was at 6 months that I thought God led me to, I don't look at that and say, like, what a freaking waste of time that was. I don't think about it that way. I look at it and I think, well, even if I don't know exactly what I was supposed to be doing or exactly why I was there for 6 months, I was there. And and there are things that I definitely got out of that. And I think that's a matter of finding, like I talked the other day about, figuring out where to find the joy, right, in things. And so when we think about things that we think have wasted our time, right? It's a matter of what can I find in that? Like, what did I get out of it? How did I help somebody else? And probably that's more important than anything else. Was there, during that time, did I help somebody while I was doing that? I may feel like I didn't get, but maybe my role in that was to have been a blessing to someone else during that time, right? And so, and kind of keeping with that story of being at that organization for 6 months. Look, if nothing else, I did come to know what I don't want to do, right? So there's that. I did come to know what I don't want to do, which is important, right? That's important sometimes to understand what you don't want to do. And I say this all the time about myself. Sometimes I know more about what I don't want to do than what I necessarily want to do. So I did get that. And part of my role at that organization was, well, not part of my role, it was my role, was to counsel families through the organ donation process. So, really quickly, if your loved one is in the hospital and the doctors are saying that there is no brain activity, they are brain dead. Um, if they're an adult and they had registered to be an organ donor, we come in and we'll talk to you about what that means, and we would go in and talk to you about what that means and what it looked like, what it may look like. Um, if the person wasn't a registered organ donor, we would come into your family and ask if your family wants to do that. And so what I recognize is that during that time of having to counsel families during that, because what ends up happening is sometimes a person, the loved one who has passed, was a registered organ donor and the family didn't know, and the family not really excited about that, right? And so you've got to understand, I'm like, yeah, I can see where that role allowed me to be a blessing to some people, allowed me to bring some comfort to some people, right? And so looking at it in terms of that, Now, there were some things about that role. Like, first of all, I said this when in my head, I was like, I'm a person that likes to smile. I do. I like to smile. And in that role, you can't really go in and try to talk with families and be like, oh, I know your loved one died. So you don't do a lot of smiling in that role because people are mourning and people are sad and they have a lot of sorrow and it's a lot of grief and there's so much pain, right? Um, and so you're not gonna like you're trying to meet them where they are and you're coming with a demeanor that makes sense um, for where they are. And so I like to think that during that time that I was able to give something to folks that were hurting. And in the same time, I was able to, as I just said, I was able to recognize that I I do like to smile, so I want a job where I'm not going to be prohibited from smiling. But also, I recognize that I don't want to do something where I'm on call, right? Because clearly you never know when someone's going to pass. So there were times when if I was on call, and this happened, I got a call at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up and go to to a hospital, and because it that's happened, and that is just part of it. And so I was like, oh yeah, I don't really want to do that. And so just pieces of figuring out what can you get out of it and because there's no time is ever wasted. Although let me digress a little bit because sometimes I'll watch a movie or you watch something and be like, well, I can't get that time back, right? But still, even at that, and I'm making light, right? But even at that is like, well, okay, what did I get out of that movie? It was kind of a dud. The acting was bad. But maybe it's something that I sat and watched with Tommy, and then it's like, oh, well, that's just time that I had with with Tommy. And so you've got to you've got to figure it out, and you've got to find because it's just I just don't think there's wasted time, and you've got to find like even if you're watching this video or if you've been watching videos of mine, and if you're watching and thinking, what the heck is Diane talking about? Or why did I watch? There's something that you can pick out. It's like even when you go to, if you're at a conference, not even a conference, sometimes if you're just at like a church service, anything where somebody is speaking, right? So it's anything where somebody's speaking, and you may feel like, huh, and you may find your mind drifting. Is that just me? Um, but I'm always still able to get something. There's always a nugget or two that I can get out of it. So I'm gonna leave you with that and just say like there's no wasted time. There's no wasted time. There's always something. And sometimes just like I talked about with the joy thing, sometimes you have to look. Sometimes you have to think about it and go like, okay, what can I get out of that? But don't feel like if you like in a job that didn't work for you and feel like wasted time or a marriage that didn't work for you, a relationship that didn't work for you, and then it comes to an end, that still wasn't wasted time. That wasn't wasted time. Or if you were involved with someone and you were involved for a long time, you thought it was going to lead to marriage, but then it didn't. And sometimes, and I'll speak for myself, sometimes a woman, we kind of feel like, what did I waste my time with you for? But there was something you got out of it. It's not wasted time. You got something out of it. And this idea around like a time and there's a time frame and things have to happen. No, you're on your own journey. We're on our own path. We're on our own journey. And don't get caught up in what society says, when society says things need to happen in what time frame. All right. Leaving you with that. All right. Till next time. Bye. And thank you. Bye.